Okay, the important thing about the Catapult project is it isn't about making catapults. What it's about is actually using the catapult as a way to attract students' attention, to bring them into the project, and to teach 4 basic components of management: planning, organizing, influencing, and controlling. Each element is graded and judged with a rubric. They were divided into 3 teams, and also we had a group that was putting it together. They were the real leaders of the project, and they were being rated specifically on those 4 functions. The other groups were rated on different functions at different times throughout the project. Important thing is getting student excitement, also watching different things as it happens. One of the things that happened during the development is they were making the basket which would hold the cantaloupe as they threw it. When that happened, we saw a really interesting thing. Gender inequality crept in there. All the girls went into the room and did the sewing project, and all the guys went outside and did the carpentry work. And so we talked extensively in a debrief session about why did that happen. Did they feel they were comfortable with those roles? Did they feel like they were pushed into those roles? Did they feel left out? Were they included or not? How about the guys? Did they feel uncomfortable being in the room, working with fabric, etc., or did they feel like they didn't belong there? So we discussed issues like that, and that relates to a really important example of how our workplace is run. We see that all the time in the workplace. How do we recognize that and work with it and make sure everybody has an equal chance to participate in the business in a full way? Other things that we look for is leadership and how leadership came out. One of our students, Devin, one of our quietest students, not a guy that speak out a lot, but he was the only carpentry student in this group, and he just took control. In his areas of competency, he was in charge, didn't have to raise his voice, people followed his lead because he knew he was competent. And we talk about that too, how leadership, it doesn't always have to be out there, outgoing, and just be competent. Quiet competency can often get you a lot of distance in leadership positions. So, but the important part is to have a good rubric, know what your objectives are when you do an active, large learning thing like this. It's not just to play and have fun. Well, that's a nice sideline. It's to accomplish something. And the other thing is to look for unique opportunities to make students think about what's happening within the organizing. You'll always find something. So be really watchful. Stop and say, hey, look what's happening here. Why is it happening? One of the final things that we also worked on as well as for the leadership role, did they bring people in? A lot of times you hear in group projects, the students will say, well, they didn't do anything. Well, were they invited in? Were they brought in? Were they... when people don't do anything, often it's a fear-based going on, and if you can alleviate that fear, so we coach students a lot about that. If people are disengaged, find out why. How can you bring them in? As a leader, that's your responsibility, not just to say, oh, they just didn't do the work. And you'll see that a lot, once again, in business. So active learning means, hey, this is something I'm going to walk out, take with me to the job. I'm going to see these situations like this within the workplace and be able to apply what I learned here.